Welcome back, River Watchers. Things are heating up, visitors are returning to the lake, and a new compact proposal was just struck. Talks of El Niño have been everywhere lately, and this cycle could have a drastic effect not only on the Southwest, but the entire globe. Let's find out what it's all about. Temperatures have finally been ramping up here in the Mojave, with highs flirting with the triple digits in Las Vegas. It seems the extended wet winter in the Southwest has pushed back the usual heat of summer. It will be interesting to see if the hot weather will extend later into the year now, or if El Niño might force a different hand. More on that in just a bit. Down at Lake Mead, the temperate weather and cloud cover invited many visitors to come back out and recreate around the lake. It's good to see visitors back out enjoying the area with a little swimming, fishing, or even both. Interest must have picked up around Lake Mead over the last year because Temple Bar Marina, one of the more remote locations around the lake, was fully booked in early May, something that hasn't happened for quite some time.
It's definitely picking up. There's a lot more people here than last year.
Owners state the boat rentals and restaurant at Temple Bar will also be back up and running soon, in addition to the campground and cabins that are already being booked. Another lake-driven business named Lake Mead Mojave Adventures inside the park reports that business is up 100% and finally returning since the declining water levels of the last several years.
With the water levels rising, we are definitely seeing an increase in business. We're seeing people talk about it more, and we're getting to see families come out here and recreate. So we're very excited about it.
It seems boaters and visitors are now excited about the season once again with the increased activity around the lake.
The overall tone over the last few years is that Lake Mead is disappearing and it's going to be gone. And I think what people are understanding now is that Mother Nature is a beautiful, beautiful thing and is returning water to the lake.
Water levels at both major reservoirs have continued to rise since the last update, and the data from the new 24-month study is quite optimistic as well. We're going to look into those numbers in just a minute, but for now let's see where we're at today. Lake Mead is currently sitting at 1,054 feet above sea level, rising another 4 feet since last report. And the inflows from Lake Powell upstream don't show any signs of slowing either. Matter of fact, upstream at Lake Powell, the level has also gained an incredible 32 feet since last report, rising to 3,560 feet above sea level. Lingering snowmelt is estimated to feed both of these reservoirs well into summer. If we look at the water level graphs, we can see Lake Mead has already bisected its level from last year and is continuing to recover from historic lows. Despite sending large outflows downstream to Mead, Lake Powell also continues to rapidly gain content from the runoff feeding it, and is well on its way to exceeding 2021 levels. Truly a best-case scenario we could have only hoped for in the last several years of drought. Now it's time to dive into the Basin bin and take a look at some of the important stories around the Colorado River Basin. Our first and biggest story is the coming El Niño weather pattern. As we can see in this article from Changing America, potentially significant El Niño to begin by summer. El Niño is a climate cycle that begins when trade winds over the Pacific weaken and stagnant warm ocean waters rise to form a heat dome. From this volatile area, many large-scale storms are born, which go on to affect the jet stream over North America to such a degree that it shifts, changing not only the climate in the U.S., but around the globe. Areas like the Southwest, which have been in a prolonged drought period, may receive much wetter weather soon due to El Niño. Around the country, other effects are a warmer and drier Pacific Northwest and drier East, with a colder South and more volatile storms in the Southeast. Notable warming this year has further increased the likelihood that El Niño will begin by late spring or early summer, and the odds of El Niño being in place for the next winter are up to 93%. Meaning we may be able to expect similar rainfall and snowpack in the Southwest again next season, and the season after that. The cycle usually lasts around 3 to 5 years, at which point we would phase back into the cool cycle of La Niña. Now, reporting strictly from a Southwest U.S. viewpoint, this certainly does seem great for the Colorado River Basin. A few cooler, wetter years in the Southwest is what many river watchers have been hoping for. However, others are much more panicked about another El Niño cycle, reporting that the returning El Niño will bring danger for California and the world. We need to be prepared. Well, I definitely agree with that last part, as flooding and mudslides are real dangers there, and we hope all our viewers affected by the last rounds of flooding have recovered. However, much of the danger really depends on your region, and also how it manages its resources and infrastructure. Do you think El Niño is a danger or a welcome change? Let us know in the comments below. Our second story in the Basin Bin today is an update on the hotly contested River Compact negotiations. Some of you may have caught our update from last week on the new proposal, but today we are going to take a little closer look. According to reporting from the Associated Press, the lower basin states of Arizona, California, and Nevada reached an agreeable proposal to conserve water through 2026, eliminating the need for the forced cuts that were being threatened by the USBR. All 7 basin states agreed to the plan, which aims to leave 3 million acre-feet of water in Lake Mead in the next 3 years. Water that would have otherwise been used to irrigate fields or generate hydropower downstream, in exchange for at least $1 billion in federal funding for what they report as voluntary water cuts. Now personally, I wouldn't call that voluntary, seeing as how the lower basin was bribed with federal funding, but that's neither here nor there. The money used is part of the $4 billion in drought relief funding passed in the Inflation Reduction Act, to date the largest climate investment in U.S. history. With this drought relief funding, states could pay farmers not to farm, or pay residents to dig up their lawns in favor of xeriscaping, as they have in Las Vegas. If you look at the bigger picture though, this plan essentially has taxpayers countrywide buying out the nearly expired water rights from lower basin desert farmers, and also subsidizing wealthy, lush green communities to conform to native landscaping standards that they've managed to avoid throughout the entire drought. Some of our viewers might even remember the story of Las Vegas residents being billed to rip up previously approved community landscaping. Now in retrospect, it looks like the people who did the right thing early on were a bit foolish. Perhaps some of you will feel it's just a necessary price to pay in order to fix this problem. Others may see it as little more than another taxpayer-funded racket or slush fund. Either way, the proposal will now be analyzed by the Biden administration, and a final decision from the USBR is expected later this year. In regards to the details of the new proposal, each of the 3 lower basin states would cut around 10% of their respective water allocations, and that would be in addition to the previously agreed to cuts that were negotiated back in both 2019 and 2007. Over half of the cuts, 1.6 million acre-feet, would come from California alone. Perhaps some of our longtime viewers will now understand why California was being so stubborn with the initial water negotiations. By not making voluntary water cuts earlier, it looks like they've called the USBR's bluff, as they will now be paid to make those same cuts under this new plan. And it certainly seems like the California water managers know they've outsmarted the admin, as this LA Times report gloats. California emerges as big winner in Colorado River water deal. So what do you think about all this? Do you think it's a good use of the new Inflation Act money? Do you think the USBR should have gone with a different plan? Or maybe just waited out until the compact expires in 2026? Let us know in the comments below. Last up in the Basin Bin today, I want to share some key numbers from the USBR's latest 24-month study. I had some of you river watchers ask where they could find this study, so I'll leave a link here and down in the description so you can look through it on your own. What I want to point out here though is the high and low levels that are estimated by the USBR over the next 2 years. From this study, in the most probable case, they expect Lake Mead to reach a high level of 1,070 feet above sea level by February 2024. The lake is then predicted to drop once again to around our current level of 1,052 feet in July or August of next year. The most probable case does not show Lake Mead falling any lower than our current level right now. Upstream at Lake Powell, the USBR expects the reservoir to climb to 3,597 feet in elevation by the end of June 2024, an additional increase of 35 feet. The lowest level predicted at Powell throughout the next 2 years is actually our current level right now. Like Lake Mead, the USBR does not predict Lake Powell to drop any lower than it is currently. You can see from this new study some drastic changes are expected at both reservoirs, and those changes definitely look optimistic. It will be interesting to see how the El Niño pattern emerging may or may not affect these predictions released by the USBR. Until then, we will continue to track the rise of these reservoirs and any changing outlook made by the USBR. We'd like to give special recognition to our super thanks viewer from last update, Gregory Weghorst. We know you have many places to get your information and entertainment these days, and we're happy you decided to spend some of that time here. If you would like to support us also, feel free to head over to the Mojo merch page on Etsy and pick up a t-shirt or some artwork. Until next update, stay hydrated, stay happy out there, and take care.